Obrigado.
Obrigado.
Well, thank you, Frederico and Francisco, who created this opportunity from Microsoft and who invited us to be here. And so we have João from PagerDuty, Luís from Sword Health, and Rodrigo from OutSystems. My name is Humberto, and I'm from Rose. I'm going to do a little advertising. We are the spreadsheet guys. Let's talk a little bit about AI. So in 2023, we had these two explosions, right? One of them was the AI project. The other one was this concern with efficiency and the economy and all of these different changes. And I think it would be interesting to see how you guys navigated, or how we as a group navigated this problem, because I'm pretty sure we had different experiences here. So if you can start, what happened to you in 2023 in AI? What are you doing in production? So what are you delivering to users, not like a test? What's the use case, and are you charging for this product at the moment? Do you want to start? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Microsoft, for the invite as well. So my name is João. I work at PagerDuty. I'm responsible for a big part of engineering at PagerDuty, which is a company that focuses on helping others recovering from incidents and making sure that your availability or reliability is at the top level. And we have a SaaS product that has many components that go from incident management to automating response to incidents to having workflows. And last year, as you were saying, we were also looking at how can AI bring us to another level? How can we disrupt using Gen AI and other parts? But we also had the mandate for efficiency, right? As in, I would say, any public company or even in startups, as we saw and heard in the last panel, there was a demand for efficiency. So probably many of you have heard the sentence, how can we do more with less, right? How can we reduce our costs, increase our revenue, and keep our margins high? And so how do you invest in Gen AI and still become more efficient at the same time, right? It seems a hard shift. And I think there's a big connection between the two, which is when you think about Gen AI, there are many applications, and probably in all companies you have internal applications where you can improve the processes, your internal processes, not only in engineering and product, but also at different departments, right? Marketing, finance, all of those. And so this creates, basically you're boosting the power of Gen AI in order to drive efficiency internally. But then you need to think about, okay, how do you do this also externally? Because that typically requires an investment. Some companies already have, I would say, machine learning teams and AI department in place, and they're probably more mature. Others are still trying to figure it out, how do we go and do a quick, fast go-to-market. And so there needs to be, I would say, a top-level decision, right, where you decide, okay, why are we going to invest? How are we going to disrupt? What are the use cases that really disrupt and bring and satisfy our customers? And so for us, a product that helps you being up when everyone else is down, a product that we work with many major companies, top 100 companies in the world that have really high demand, right? How do we do this? How do we remove investments from certain areas and bring more investment to Gen AI? And if you think about the cases where you want to respond in real time to problems, and many times responding to those problems is in fact bringing information together, right? Leveraging the power of information, and you look at the technology behind Gen AI, you'll see that there's a sweet spot there. And if people have information in a very easy way to access, and they can learn, for example, when there's a problem, what happened, what is the customer impact, how much am I losing because of this incident that is happening in my product, how much am I losing because my site is down, are customers really being able to buy or not. And so this is an opportunity, this for us was an opportunity. And not only we're driving efficiency for our customers, because we're helping them resolve their problems faster, mitigate their problems faster, learn from their problems, and all of that using Gen AI. But for us internally, it's also a win, right? We also do this much better. We also do this much more efficiently. And if you think about the time to resolution of a problem, and you think about the cost of having that problem running for hours instead of minutes or seconds, and you quickly do the math on the efficiency that you gain. And so this was a key moment for us. And just to complement and to finish and answer your question, we have several areas in early availability. We launched an assistant to help responders when they're trying to figure out problems. We launched summarization capabilities. We merged information from multiple systems and brought them to our customer support teams, to the DevOps teams that are responding to problems. And we have all these features in early availability, and we're getting ready to do GA, global availability, now in the first part of this fiscal year. And we're not going to charge for it.
No, okay, so you just brought a lot of information from different systems to aid in incident management and problem resolution. Said to you, go from hours to minutes to eventually seconds, and you're planning to roll this into your typical solution for everyone. Okay, yes. And what about you guys at Sword Health? Because you are the expert in pain, and so you know pain is your business, right?
Correct.
And healthcare.
Ending it really.
Exactly. And so, what is your perspective? Is it also, is there something in production already? Are you guys, and what is it? And are you charging for it? Or what's your perspective on the business as well?
Right. So, I can't really say that 2023 has been a pivotal year in that sense, just because for all matters and purposes, what we started doing in 2023 was pretty much continuing the work we have been done so far, whilst, of course, leveraging the most recent tools in generative AI. So concretely, our goal has always been providing the best quality treatment, so killing pain by providing the highest possible quality physical therapy at scale. So in that sense, we already have many stuff productized using both classical machine learning and even rule-based systems when appropriate. So what we really started doing in 2023 was seeing the missing piece, or the part of our treatment that wasn't really leveraging AI, because so far you really didn't have off-the-shelf tools that allowed you to actually support, in our case, our physical therapists in making better decisions in what regards, for instance, communicating with our patients. So that was the first thing we productized with generative AI in Q4 of last year, and this is a work in progress, of course, but so it has been about, one thing we learned, I think this is relevant context, one thing we learned from the beginning is that as important as it is for you to do your physical therapy sessions with quality, with rigor, it is also equally important for you to feel that there's a human on the other side, right? That for you to feel accompanied by someone, and that there's even a dimension of emotional support that is clearly correlated with the success in the recovery. So again, this was basically the missing piece for AI at Sword. And that's why we started leveraging generative AI, LLMs, of course, in particular, to both understand when is the most appropriate timing to communicate with our patients. Say, you do a session and it was terrific, we might as well reach out to you to congratulate you on it. Or on the completely opposite sense, maybe you're a bit disengaged, you haven't done sessions for, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, so maybe the therapist should send a message to the patient trying to be helpful and reaching out to check in. And with generative AI, we were able to really craft those messages in the best possible way, contemplating factors that were those particular nuances, something that the patient might have said in the very first conversation with a therapist, or that particular exercise that the patient didn't perform so well. And so for us, it has been enriching communication. That has been the number one thing. And the second part of the question
are you charging for it or not?
Well, not directly.
Yeah.
So it has been part of our service. So yeah, the cost of the service didn't increase following this.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a gross margin point to it, but on the other hand, not only we are enhancing communication, but we're also leveraging scale by having our PTs doing more and treating more patients simultaneously. So surely the net effect will be positive.
So increasing the human factor
Correct.
and making things more human, even if they have a high level of sophistication and automation.
Correct.
Collecting and making things actual and present and delivering better care at better scale.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, awesome. And what about you guys at OutSystems?
So we at OutSystems, we do a platform that allows building applications very fast, enterprise applications, and we've already been using AI to help do that for the past 5 years. So it was very natural for us when these new technologies started showing up to change the things we already had to take advantage of the new technology. And actually we started in late 2022 when the first LLM started showing up. We included those capabilities on the platform for everybody to use. That's on the part of building applications. We also use AI to support the whole life cycle of the application, so making sure the application is safe and fast and all of that. And we also want to help our customers build applications that make use of AI. And the cool thing about that is that we drink our own champagne. So our digital team uses the platform to build the tools that support OutSystems. And so we started trying out with these new Gen AI capabilities. We started with an example that was a ticket deflection mechanism. So people that go to our website with questions about the platform, now they can pose a question to a Gen AI engine that has all the information about OutSystems in the platform, and this allowed us to deflect a bunch of support tickets. So we went from a deflection rate of 1 digit to almost 25% right now, which represents
a lot of money.
Cost savings of about 10,000 euros a month. So it's really relevant to use these tools to improve efficiency. We also use it for translations. So we have a big community in Japan, and they're not so native speakers of English, so sometimes it's tough to communicate with them. And the fact that you can use these technologies to do the translation, it's unbelievable how good the translation is. And this was something we were trying to solve for about 6 years, and now with these new technologies, it was very fast to do. And the last example, you talked also about summarization. It's something that we are trying out with our sales team, which is giving them a mechanism to summarize sales calls. So you have a 2-hour sales call, you put it through the AI engine, and it gives the information about who's the relevant person in the room, budget, what's the project, and so on and so on. This one, we're still trying it out, but we have a lot of expectations for it.
So a lot of support, translation, a lot of services that are complementary to your base solution, and that increase efficiency and satisfaction with the product, right?
And of course, we're packaging all of this so that now our customers can take advantage and do what we did with all of these new applications.
It's super interesting that these 3 examples, I just realized this now, because there are much larger companies, you know, PagerDuty, OutSystems, and Sword Health, that when they released AI, they included it in their typical products, and including in their typical products, it did not change their pricings a lot. In our company at Rose, because we're a much smaller company, it actually transformed the pricing. So we just released features for you to transform the little cells in a spreadsheet with AI, and then an analyst where you can ask questions. And that has actually transformed the pricing, right? So half of the early converts to paid are already converting because of AI. So it's interesting that larger companies have more maturity, or maybe they don't need to start aggressively monetizing. Maybe it will, at some point, you will figure out an economy of scale and how you're going to monetize that. But for early stage, I think you can actually get results immediately right off the bat and start charging for it. Okay, now the second round of things, and let's try to get through this one fast. How did it start? Was it a lone wolf inside your organization picking up the AI on a weekend and doing a little demo and then convince people? Was it someone from the top, maybe technically minded, I don't know, we got to attack these, let's create a task force, or maybe just both? Or in our case, it was like just a couple of guys picked it up, a couple of days, they presented it to the team, we were convinced, and then we started putting more resources, and then more resources and more resources. How was it for you guys at PagerDuty?
Excellent question. So we basically needed to carve out time to go and innovate, experiment. So we asked all teams to look at 20% of their time and see how they could apply these new technology to the cases that were in place. And some things emerged that were super positive, disruptive, others, right, not so much.
Yeah.
And so we basically created the space for all teams to go and innovate. Awesome. And to go and experiment and lose a little bit of the, I would say, the risk-averse mindset and just go and experiment and try new things and see what works with our customers.
So, carve out, Google style, 20%, go experiment with this new technology, come back to us, and then we'll figure it out. Awesome. What about Sword?
Well, it actually happened organically in two ends of the org. You know, our CEO is very strong in his vision and the urgency he put. So this was one of the triggering points. But at the same time, the AI team, the team I lead, was already thinking about this because we were developing a tool that, as I said, flagged for the therapist when the right time for messaging was. And as they were designing that tool, they already put there a text box for an automatic suggested message. So it was funny because it happened to be from Virgilio, but at the same time we were already taking arrangements. And so when he set out a challenge, it was very quick to integrate.
So it was happened organically, kind of in the process of product. Actually,
exactly.
You were like, okay, this thing is not fully resolved, but we kind of know we want to go there. It was like just begging for it to be done.
That's exactly it.
Awesome.
Yeah. On our side, it was both ways. So we started on the product and adding these capabilities to the product. So that was the engineering team. Then we had also some rogue people that were doing data analysis, and they used this to try and understand what were people saying about our product in our forums. That was really fun because we added all the forums information on an LLM, and we started asking what do people love about the product, what they don't like so much about the product, so that was fun. And then when it started reaching the top of the hype and we realized that this could really improve productivity because we already did some tests also with bots in Slack where people could go and ask questions about our product and so on, then there was a mandate from higher management saying, this looks very exciting, let's try this out. We want half of the departments using AI, we don't know what this means, let's go figure it out. And it's been working very well, actually. It's been fantastic, the ideas people have.
And what I take from this, again, more to the public, is that this AI really is coming from multiple sides, and it is important that you think strategically, but it's also, it seems very important for employees and people who are working for your colleagues to actually pick up and start experimenting small things, and then somewhere along the middle, it's going to be clear to people you actually have to invest. I think this is what I take from the collective point. I think we're all very different organizations, but at least this seems interesting. Next point, if this is such a big opportunity, there must also be risk, and I would like us to approach two things here, which we talked about when we were preparing this session. This was prepared a little bit, you know, not everything, but it was a little bit prepared. One of them is the risk of not going after AI, and if you can comment, 30 seconds on that, so that we can still get to another question after that. And then the other thing, how do you deal with risk, right? The security and privacy or privacy of this element. Do you want to start again? I'm always going to go in this line. I think it's efficient. João.
Sounds good. So starting by the risk, I think when you tell your teams to go and experiment, you need to create the guardrails, right? You need to create the proper guardrails, the policies, and we did that quite quickly in terms of understanding what was the boundaries that people couldn't cross in experimenting. Can they put like our source code in an LLM or not, right? What was the boundary? And we created those policies so that people knew how to experiment and what boundaries they were not allowed to cross.
Who created these policies? Was it like a CTO mandate, CEO, a lot of people discussing?
It was mostly driven by our security team.
Security team. Okay.
But in working together with our engineering leaders.
Okay.
Then the part of the risk. I would highlight that one of the key factors that we also found is how do you show trust to your customers, right? Because it's a new thing, as you said. It has the power to disrupt, right? So, and trying to answer also your question is, if you don't do it, probably another company will go, either a startup or a competitor will come and take advantage of that, right? And if you don't take the opportunity, if you have the ideas, if you see the opportunity and you don't take it, probably someone else will. And so we need to respond rapidly to these changes and take these opportunities. However, when you talk to customers, they're also looking for a service that they can trust. And so this, I think, is where also Microsoft, Google, Amazon, etc., all the service providers, right, that provide the foundational LLM services, they also invested a lot of time and effort in order to guarantee and to put those policies in place, to guarantee that customers can feel good about using this type of services. However, it's a new technology. It's still, I would say, in a state where it can evolve in a lot of directions, in a lot of ways. So it's normal for people to see it as something that is still not at a super mature state, and to take, I would say, a careful approach, especially when you're talking about customers that work in the finance sector or health sector, as an example, where I would say the questions around privacy, compliance can be quite high.
Luís, I think also I was also thinking about it. Your three companies are the leaders in the space, it seems, worldwide, like the top one or maybe top two in the space. But yours in particular has much more regulation and much more, like, it's health, right? Notwithstanding software being super cool, you know, I think healthcare is particularly hard
challenging
to do. What is your perspective, and how can you also abstract it for the group of people? What is the lesson there? What did you do to make it secure? And also, how did you see the risk of not doing this, or is this an existential risk for yourselves, or this is a stepping stone to something else? Okay,
so I'll start from the latter. I mean, the risk of missing out on this, I think it's significant for mainly two reasons. The most important being, and without, I understand I might be at risk at sounding hypeful about this, but I think it's very real. I think this is a very disruptive piece of technology. Disruptive in the sense that I think it can take your product to a whole new level. From a very objective standpoint that your users, in your case, our patients, can feel. So missing out on this might be missing out on something that makes you reach a whole new level in terms of product. The second thing is, in the health sector, not so much, but I believe this applies to other areas. I think there's kind of an expectation by the market, by your users, that you embed these features on your product. One thing I personally think, it's obviously a personal opinion, but I'm very annoyed of how I still have to talk to Siri like if it was 2015. Siri doesn't understand what I want to say, cannot chat with me as a very basic intent detection. So I think there's clearly this perception of the market that if you are an innovative company, you should bring that into the product in a mindful way, not mindless innovation, of course. Now, going to the
security
side of it. Yeah. I mean, for us, contrary to what it might seem, I think it was simpler than expected. For starters, we already had, as you were saying, we already were subject to so many compliance standards. Compliance standards that regarded the way we manage our data, where we fed it to. So in that sense, GPT and other tools became just another one of those tools that we had to be careful about. Not something new, really. And stuff like having, HIPAA compliance, like we have with Microsoft, for instance, making sure that your data doesn't go anywhere it shouldn't. So in that sense, it was quite natural. This is reason number one. And then the reason number two is we don't mean to use LLMs as a product feature per se. What we mean to use LLMs for is really enhancing our physical therapist. I mean, we wanted to have to be able to make better decisions, make more decisions, and as I was saying, communicate with our members in the best way possible. So because we always have the therapist in the loop, because virtually no single thing comes out of an LLM directly to a patient without the therapist approving and overriding if needed be, I think we have the appropriate safeguards in this regard.
So human in the loop, it's interesting because when we were talking to Microsoft as well, one of the interesting things they said was, they want to build a co-pilot, not an autopilot. And
That's
I think
exactly it.
You are on the same loop
Completely.
of co-pilot, not autopilot. And what about for OutSystems?
So for us, in terms of security, we do a great effort to anonymize whatever data we process.
Yep.
So there are things that people write on the code and all of that, and we strip the code of all those things so that there are no security issues. Same thing, we kind of transform the code in the way that it's not possible, for instance, for two companies in the same industry to suddenly, the second company generate code that was exactly the same as the other one. So we do some kind of manipulation to assure that. And to get trust, what we are doing is we are doing a document where we explain all of this and exactly for each product what we do in terms of data, what we do in terms of models, what information goes back and forward. All of that will be very transparent. But in terms of risk, for me, the highest risk is expectation management right now in terms of this technology. On two accounts. First, everybody thinks this will solve everything. So expectations are extremely high, and sometimes it's hard for people to understand that not everything can be fixed with this technology. And there are even problems where it's not at all recommended to use these new technologies. And so people do things that involve decisions that have impact on people's lives, for instance. You need to be very careful when using these technologies. And so this is something we are also trying to teach our customers and to teach inside OutSystems when are these things applicable and when you should use other technologies.
Yeah, I think we are a bit closer to your approach, that we anonymize everything. We don't send spreadsheet data to the AI. We just send a representation of the data, an anonymized version, so that it doesn't spit out secrets or financial data or anything like that. Super cool. Okay, for the last bit, I think we still got 2 minutes. What is the most fun or different, disruptive thing you're trying to do with AI? For example, for us at Rose, we have an internal product which is trying to call bullshit on the numbers that people put on the spreadsheets, right? Having a little button that can detect whether someone hammered the numbers or someone faked the model or something like that. This is like what we're trying to do. Do you guys have something like that? Something that is maybe more fun or a different edgy angle to the AI? We have like 30 seconds for each. I'm sorry, that's what we got.
For sure. We talked about human in the loop, right? And human in the loop is present today in all the solutions that we develop. However, if you can get to a state where some problems, you can let the AI make some decisions for you, right? And you need to create the proper guardrails, boundaries, right, for those decisions. And you can remove the human in the loop. Imagine how much efficiency you can get from that, right? So that's the fun part, is understand how can you remove the human in the loop. And if you talk to CIOs, CTOs across all major companies, this is something that it will definitely make a huge difference, right? They're looking for efficiency, cost efficiency, and so on. And so how can you get beyond that barrier? For now, I think we're at the level where human in the loop makes total sense, needs to be there, especially in areas that are very critical, like health. But there might be cases where you can start removing that human from the loop. And that is, I think, the fun part of what's coming next. And looking forward for the next 2-3 years.
How are you guys trying to do some fun stuff in that?
Indeed. Very quickly, so a particular situation where we don't use the human in the loop, but we are very constrained in when we pass the LLM, is being able to provide an experience like you start doing your physical therapy session at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and your system greets you by saying, "Hello, Humberto, so 7 a.m. today, that's commitment. Congratulations for that. I have a good piece of news for you. Your physical therapist just added 2 new exercises for this session, so let's start doing them." And I think that's a magical moment where
so they're making the messages themselves fun and meaningful and engaging, etc.
So on our side, there's been a lot of focus on conversational interfaces, so where people talk with the AI. there is a room for those, and those are awesome, but we think the visual interaction is much more powerful. So what we are doing is we're trying to bring visual interaction to these Gen AI mechanisms, which is a very fun challenge, and we're coming up with some really cool stuff.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you, Luís. Thank you, João. I hope that this was fun for you guys. And thank you, Microsoft, again, for inviting us. This was super fun. Thank you.